I mean, honestly, I feel like I'm gonna become a Sentai fan. I mean, I Sentai isn't like a toku I don't like, but it's like not my like go to. Like my go to's always been Ultraman and Kamen Rider. You know, obviously like, some indie toku stuff. I still off topic. I still put things like Dogenders and High School Heroes like way up there for like indie toku. That's just so good. And then, I got things like Parahero Gundine, which was an amazing 3 episode indie toku. But that's basically I'm talking about King Oger episode 2. Um Man, I like this like I wasn't sure because I've already said in my first review and on podcasts and this and that, like I always give it a couple episodes. Sometimes I'm not really even hooked after the first episode, but I give it a chance. But King Oger is just slapping, and it's hitting good with me. Like the music, everything. Like I'm, and the cool thing about episode 2 was it picked up exactly where the the first episode ended. So it felt like it was kind of like the premiere part 2. And usually that's not the case with at least some of the Sentai I've watched. I don't have a vast knowledge, so I could be wrong. uh, but we see Gira, who's now the Tyrant King, surrounded, and Yanma just shows up with his little dragonfly shoe god, and he does the whole Terminator line. He's like, come with me if you want to live. Get in the mecha, and then they just, you know, escape. My favorite thing was the facial expressions with Yanma because Gira's like, who are you? He's like, you don't know who my name? You don't know who I am? Like, how do you not know? You know, come on now. Uh, Dude, Nakosopa, the land of technology. Whew, visually appealing when they're flying in. You get those nice shots of it. You see all the tech, the citizens, this, that. And I'm like, this is my kind of city. As someone who I got an IT degree, I was in IT, this and that for so long. Like, I love me some good tech, and I love futuristic cities. Um, Obviously, compared to uh Shugodan, like obviously you're gonna have a lot more CG and stuff because with practical effects with like a tech city, it's not gonna be as easy. Uh, but it looked really good. I mean, and also the sweet guitar playing while we are getting into the city. I was like, oh, the OST for this is going to be amazing. I may buy the OST if they release all the tracks, stuff like that. So uh I'm not even gonna gloss over the fact, dude, Yanma can control his tech with his hand. Like he had like a little tech strip, like right and everything. He's just like do 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 boop, and then his little command station stuff cards. Like it's like activating. It's cool to see all the citizens. There's like LED screens everywhere. Um, was it like VR hollow displays? And I thought, oh, Yanma's cool. Like he's great. He's nice. Like I love his personality, his attitude, and the dynamic between him and Gira is just so good. Because I'm like, oh, he saved Gira. This is gonna be cool. And he's like, no, he only cared because he's like, all right. I can, he just wants to know. He's like, how are how'd you access this? How'd you get the King Oger to listen to you? Like, because technically he's the only one who would know the in and outs of everything, and what Gira did should not be possible. And I was like, dude, Yedma's so selfish. He's like, oh, I he's like, I only did this because is it Rackles, like Rackles, I would call him Rackles, I think that's what it is anyways, like pissed him off and he wanted to get in his way by taking Gira from him. And I'm like, bro, petty, so petty. I love it. Like, at one point, Gira's like, you know what? Like, he points his sword, he starts threatening him. He's like, I'm gonna summon King Oger and I'm gonna destroy the city if you don't return me. And I was like, all right, go right on ahead. Just leans back and his chair's like, proceed. And I was like, dude, this guy is it. Like, this is my character. Like, I love this character so much. And I'm glad, like, how this episode focused so much on Blue. Obviously, that's the Sentai, like, each one. Like, so the first episode was kind of, like, focusing on Gira and Rackley's and, like, Red. Now we're getting Blue. Obviously, the Bugnarak show up and, Yanma's henshin sequence, like, in his pose and everything. Like, he had, he has a jacket over him, like, without his sleeves in it, but he had one shoulder completely, like, exposed. He does the pose, and I was just like, damn. And it was cool because now we've seen our five henchmen and we've seen them all in their Sentai suits. The action sequence is really good. I cannot stress enough. I really like this dynamic between Gira and Yanma. Like even when they're fighting, Gira takes his little shield thing from him. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And they're fight. Like all that was cool. I'm not even gonna question how the Bugnark got there. Then we meet our villain, our main villain, or at least who's we're assuming is our main villain right now. And he is the leader of the subterranean empire of Bugnarok, the Lord of Purgatory, Death Narok the Eighth. And I'm like, I'm still getting those Emperor Belial vibes from Ultraman from the design. From I think it was it the X movie or the Z movie? I can't remember, but the Emperor Belial. I'm getting vibes from that design. It's not a 1-to-1, obviously, but just from the red aesthetics and everything else. We also meet who I'm assuming is like his second in command or one of his general, which is Kemijin, and they kind of give away their goal. He's just like, yo, we're gonna destroy the world, but before that, I want Terra's greatest treasure. I want the shoe gods. Like, give me them. And he's like, you have until nightfall. And if not, like, we can come back. And he does a lot of damage to the city before he leaves. And I'm like, all right, well, at least we already know the motivation for the villain, what they're after, and pretty cut and dry, honestly. Um, I'm furthering my whole theory of Rackley's because he shows up on a damaged blimp like shortly after. He's like, "Yo, you know what? Like, your kingdom's excluded from Arlo Quintet now, Arlo Alliance, and we're closing our border to any immigration. You guys want to try and like flee and save yourselves to come here? Not happening." And I was like, "What a dick!" Cannot stress enough. Rackley's is a dick. Real Richard nature going on right now. Super Richard, honestly. Uh, and like I said, I feel like he's up to something because why was he there so fast? And you know, just like he told Garrett with his plans, he's using Yanma as a scapegoat for all this. He said his selfish actions are why he is doing this, and that he's also harboring a fugitive. Uh, and he said, hey, this could all be resolved. Yanma, kneel, apologize, and give me the fugitive. And I'm like, damn. What are things? The dynamic of the citizens to the leaders, like we saw it was in Shugodan. Now we're seeing it now in the Kosopa. Like they were fed up. They're like, you're always quick to fight this and that. Like they start challenging this. This female steps up. She's like, I'm challenging into a fight. We find out they challenge each other with hacking battles, and I'm like, seems legit. He wipes the floor with her, and then like I said, his attitude because everyone was like, that other person steps up. He's like, this is taking too much time. And the cool thing, while he was battling her, he like turned her back to her and he yawned while hacking. And I was like, bro, this attitude, Yanma is the goat right now. Okay, I know we're only 2 episodes in, and maybe it's because I don't watch a lot of Sentai and I might be overly hyping things, but this stuff is really enjoyable. This is what's hooking me in. But he, like I said, he wins with ease. Another person steps up. He's like, this is taking too long. And he's like, how about everyone? Let's all go. All you guys at me, all at once, all out. And he just starts mopping the floor with all of them, and it's hilarious. Um, and one of the things that really showed the the dynamic, the difference between everyone is Gira actually compared Yanma to Rackley's with how he's leading everything, um, and he chose the path of evil in order to stop Rackley's his justice, and then he kind of tells Rackley's plan to him, and even you know, was like that makes sense. So they they do this whole ploy where he's about to hand Gira over. The representatives from uh, Rackley show up, and right as you think he's about to kneel, he's like, "Nah, this ain't it, dog." He's like, "Dude, he doesn't." He's like, "I don't flatter or suck up to anyone," and he's like, "Whatever." And like the people, like you think at first everyone's upset with him and this and that, but then you find out they're cheering for him. They're like, "That's him. That's right. That's our leader. That's our king." And I'm just like, all right, all right. I like this. I like this a lot. I'm really digging Yanma's personality in this, and I love that we have a whole episode focused on it. And I think it's because it's more team based, so I'm not used to how this is compared to like Kamen Rider. Um, dude, so Death Knight shows up and we get another big, huge monster, and I'm like, okay. And we see the King Oger summit and now can fly because it can use special abilities based off the pilot's shoe god. So Yanma was in control of that, so the dragonfly's wings were there. I thought that was really cool because I was curious how this was going to work with the exosuits and 5 Sentai at once, this and that. Dude, okay. The music. I can't talk much. The music slaps. It's so good. I love the music that was playing during this, and even though it was a really CG heavy fight and the city was being destroyed, and everything. So, but like the hackers even join in and they're like, "Hey, you know what? We're gonna clean up your mess." And we're gonna help too. So they start hacking, giving you stats and like patterns for the enemy. But the cool thing is, we saw like this little the head opened up on the freaking King Oger, and Gira popped out on like a cycle speeder thing, and I was like, that looks really cool. And I saw the toys. Sentai Five on YouTube did a review of the toys, and I will say that's one of the only toys that really appeals to me outside of the Udos and Mini Plas. So I may pick that up. Just a little sidebar. And then we see the Pillbug mecha being used, which turned into like a flail, which is like a mace on a chain. And we got some cool looking finishing attack of him just destroying it. And I was like, this looks cool. I like this. Um, and so I talked briefly about the dynamic of like the king with the citizens, and Gira pointed out like this doesn't seem like you have classes, like everyone's kind of like on an equal playing field. And he says, yeah, around here we're all just one crew. And this is what I think is like I'm so curious to learn more about the dynamic between the leader and their kingdoms as we like go to yellow and black and purple. Like I'm really curious the dynamic between the leaders of the kingdoms and the citizens of those kingdoms, because I thought that's one of the things I'm really curious because I really love this dynamic with Yanma and his whole kingdom. It's actually really cool. And then Gary even says, "Hey, this is what I need. Like, y'all are going to be a part of my crew now." And Yanma's just like, "Nah." Um, so continuing, and I hope like if the next episode does the same thing, because this ends with Queen Himeno's shoe god, the like grasshopper mantis thingy, snatching up Giranyama and just dashing off. And I was like, okay. So obviously next week we're gonna get yellow, and I'm okay. I'm like, oh, that's cool because that's yellow. But yeah, this was a really good episode. It really held my interest. I'm so intrigued to learn more about this world and these characters and their dynamic with each other. Let me know in the comments below what you think. If you haven't already, I'm at 900 and something subscribers. I'm on the road to 1,000. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Let me know what you thought about this episode. Are you hooked in? But I thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.